I was Mary, a poor girl who made a living as a washerwoman. Every day I went early to the river with bundles on my back, washing fine clothes for rich families, scrubbing fabric that wasn't mine, living off a kind of work that felt endless. My routine was always the same: cold water, soap, harsh sun, and the feeling that I was invisible to almost everyone. Until the day I realized someone was watching me from the other side of the bank. He was a well-dressed young man with an easel and paints. He went there to paint the landscape, and I found it strange at first, because no one from the nobility usually stopped at that simple place. I tried to ignore it, but he came back the next day, and the next, and the next. Always at the same time, always looking in my direction as if I were part of the scene he wanted to preserve.
As this story unfolds, grant us your favor, stay within our circle, and keep watch, and tell us, where do you think this path will lead?
Over time, his presence became a kind of restlessness in my heart. I didn't want to believe it was because of me, because I knew the distance between us. I was a washerwoman, he was an heir, I had hands marked by work. He had a future guaranteed from birth. Still, one day he crossed the shallow part of the river and came to speak to me. He asked my name with a politeness that made me feel awkward. I answered softly, "Mary." He smiled, said his name, and I understood right away that he wasn't an ordinary man. The way he carried himself, the way he spoke, his posture, everything gave away that he came from an important family. He began to talk to me every time he appeared. In the beginning, it was simple words. How I was, whether the work was heavy, whether I lived nearby. I answered carefully, because I knew that any involvement with someone like that could end badly for me. Even so, I couldn't avoid the feeling that, for the first time, someone truly saw me. He didn't speak to me as if I were just any servant. He spoke as if I were a person who mattered. And that, for someone who had spent her life being ignored, stirs everything inside you. The visits became a habit. When I realized it, I was already waiting for him. The river, which had always been only work, began to feel like a different place. And it was there, between quick conversations and long looks, that our romance began. A hidden, silent romance, because it was dangerous. The town was too small for gossip, and the difference between us was too great to be accepted easily. Sometimes he brought me something simple, like a better piece of bread or fruit, and he did it as if it were nothing, as if he only wanted to see me smile. Other times, he just sat there painting, but looking at me as if I were more beautiful than I myself believed I was. I tried to remember who I was so I wouldn't fool myself. I repeated in my mind, "This can't last." But it lasted, and every day that passed, I felt I was stepping into a story that didn't seem made for me. I began to feel afraid of being used, afraid of being discarded, afraid of being hurt. But he didn't treat me like a whim. He began to speak of the future, as if we could truly exist beyond that stretch of river. It frightened me, because part of me wanted to believe, and another part said I was dreaming too high, until one day he showed up different, more serious. He waited until I finished part of the work and called me closer, somewhere no one could hear. I felt my heart speed up, because I knew some decision was coming. He looked at me firmly and said he couldn't stand hiding it anymore, couldn't stand seeing me live as if I were only a shadow he visited. He said he loved me. He said it simply, directly, without theatrics. And it shook me, because I had always thought love was a privilege for rich people. I thought that for me, there was only survival. I tried to deny it. I said it was madness, that his family would never accept it, that I didn't want to be the reason for a scandal. I said he deserved someone from his world, someone who didn't carry the smell of soap and the marks of work. He fell silent for a few seconds and then held my hands, without disgust, without hesitation, as if they were precious. And that was when he said what I never imagined I would hear. He wanted to marry me. And then it happened. He took me to the city as his fiancée. At first, I felt like an intruder. People stared, whispered, judged every step I took. I had to learn to wear different clothes, to walk in places where before I only passed through the back door. I had to learn rules no one had ever taught me, and it was humiliating at times. But he was with me. He introduced me with pride, as if telling the whole world, "This is Mary." He tried to protect me. He told me to breathe, not to lower my head, to remember that I wasn't there as a favor, but because he had chosen to bring me. But I still carried the habit of apologizing for my existence. Sometimes I caught myself saying sorry for things that weren't even my fault, for stumbling, for not knowing the name of a fabric, for not understanding a greeting, for holding the cutlery in a different way. And he always interrupted me calmly, as if he were disarming an old habit inside me, telling me I didn't need to apologize for being who I was. On the eve of the official engagement, I went back alone to the river. I needed to see again the place where it all began, as if it could remind me who I was in case I got lost along the way. I looked at my hands and thought about everything they had endured, and in that moment I promised myself one thing. I would not enter that new life as someone asking permission. I would enter as Mary, the same one who washed clothes, the same one who was ignored, and the same one who was now loved. The wedding wasn't just a ceremony. It was the complete turning point of my life. I stopped being the invisible washerwoman by the river and became the wife of an heir, a woman now connected to the nobility. And it didn't happen like magic, because inside I still carried fears and insecurities. I still looked at my hands and remembered where I came from. But over time, I understood that my origin wasn't shame. It was proof of how much I had survived. In the end, I didn't become noble because I dressed like them or because I learned to speak like them. I became noble because someone loved me with enough courage to face everything, and because I myself had the courage to accept that I was not just a laundress. I did not let myself be shaken by my past, nor by what they said about me, nor by the looks that tried to remind me where I came from as if that were a sentence. I turned every mark on my hands into strength, every humiliation into silence overcome, every fear into a steady step. I learned to belong without denying my roots, and when my new life arrived, I didn't let it erase me. I made it a real home. Over time, I built a beautiful family, a home full of peace, laughter, and love, a place where no one was invisible. I watched my children running through corridors I would never have set foot in before, and I understood that the true change was not the name I carried, but the love I had created. And sometimes, when the day ended and the house fell silent, I still remembered the river. Not with sadness, but with respect, because it was there that I learned to be strong, to endure, to keep going even when no one applauded. I never disowned that Mary. I honored her, and maybe that is why nothing could break me afterward. And my story did not end at the river. It began there, and if anyone doubts it, I smile, because I know that even from the simplest riverbanks, an entire life of love, dignity, and new beginnings can be born.
If this tale has pleased your heart, grant us your favor and stand beside us.
And if you wish to hear many more, join us and keep watch for what comes next.